Hello, everyone. I'm going to give you just a moment to I see folks coming in and some folks still connecting to audio. So let's give this just a few minutes, or no, a few seconds maybe, and let some more folks get in and connect to audio. So we'll be with you in just a minute. Okay, hello everyone. I have no idea what you're seeing. This is Rose Dangerfield from the Columbia Chamber, and we are bringing you our weekly webinar. We're glad you're online with us. While we give people time to log in, I'll let you know that you're getting a sneak peek of the new world headquarters of the Columbia Chamber. I am sitting in our new conference room, and I just got a note that the internet connection is unstable in this room. So I've got my fingers crossed for the next little bit that it remains stable. But we are, full disclosure, we're excited to be here today. It is our first day and our final day at our old office and our new office. So today's the rest of the move. So if anything goes a little bit wonky on this call, blame it on me. And I apologize in advance, but we are in some state of transition and trying to keep business as normal for everybody. So with that said, let's jump in. And yes, we have parking. We are now uptown, PS, and by the way, and we do have parking at the new location. We're at the corner of Lady and Sumter Street. You'll hear more about that soon as we finish unpacking boxes and figure out where everything is. But yes, we do have parking. So Elizabeth, great question. So I want to thank Jessica and Erica, that was hard. Erin, that was even harder to say. Excuse me, Erin, I apologize for that. With AppleOne Employment and All's Well Healthcare Services. I want to make sure I get all that who are joining us today to talk about finding success and energy to lead in chaos. So I know that's a topic that is near and dear to all of us as we try to figure this out. Erin is the regional manager and has for 15 years, Erin, if I'm correct there, led a team of dedicated recruiters and staffing consultants. And we know that's an incredible task to do. And Jessica is the division manager and also leads teams that are driven by the passions that drive her, and that's helping other people and helping companies succeed. So we had just a few minutes to chat before we let everyone in, and it's just really interesting, the employment world and how businesses are approaching everything. So they are going to co-lead this webinar today. So thank you, Erin, for that, and Jessica. And we are going to run the presentation from behind the logo. That's our good friend and social media specialist, Anna, behind the logo. So let's share the screen. And Erin, I believe you're going to kick it off.
I am, yes, thank you. Thank you guys for joining us today. We are excited to maybe talk to you guys about some things that you know, some things that might be new to you in this environment that we're living in. So AppleOne and All's Well, we went remote at the end of March. So we have all been working remotely for the first time in our careers since March. And it's been a joy, and it has been like pulling my hair out. I feel like every day is a year sometimes. So the chaos has been both fun and very interesting to lead in. So if you want to put us to the first slide, I want to give us just a couple of quick tips real quick to help us just remember some items about your, I guess, your paperwork or your workflow that were helpful to me when going quickly into a work remote environment. So some things that we remember, obviously in staffing, we're constantly reminded of our pipeline. We talk a lot about our pipeline and the way that we drive our workflow and making sure that we are having candidates to present to clients, but in your case as leaders, remembering that you have to keep your ads up. If you have ads on your website where you generate responses to positions that you might have open in the next 6 months to a year, keep those up and maintain those access. Maintain access to online applications that are coming in. The thing that is so interesting right now is we flipped so quickly from being a environment where it was very job saturated and not a lot of candidates for those jobs to completely flipping the script. Now there are so many good candidates on the market that companies like yours are in a very interesting situation where maybe you wouldn't necessarily be hiring right now today, but you need to have access to some sort of what we call an ATS, an applicant tracking system. And if you don't want to pay for a service like that, a great way to have a workflow around that is to maintain a SharePoint or a OneNote. Those are really good ways to make sure that you're keeping tabs on the candidates that are interested in you right now, because at some point you will be hiring again if you're not hiring right now. So making sure that you have some sort of workflow or at least a process around that would be a great idea. Another thing that's been really helpful for us is the idea of having a DocuSign. We have any wet signatures that had to happen before, we have moved to DocuSign. So the process in general is a lot quicker. And I can give you guys some tips on that if you want to reach out to us after this. And then something that we found difficult at first when we went remote is maintaining paperwork for employment that is always maybe wet signature, like our I-9s, for instance, our W-4s, our E-Verifies that we have to do. We can do those virtually, but the I-9 remote processing was something that we had to quickly get our heads around because we don't have any contact in our offices right now. So there are services out there that are available for purchase to assist you with those types of things to make sure that you are getting the correct paperwork when you're ready to hire. So with that being said, let's move to the next slide. I think it's a really great time for everyone right now to consider what we call WIFM. So not only are you to be pipelining for your positions that you'll eventually have to hire for, I think this is a really good time for you to consider for your internal staff that you're leading remotely, maybe for the first time ever, what's in it for them? So we talk about WIFM a lot in our offices, and we like to answer that question for our candidates when we're working with employers. And so I think it's a good time for leaders like yourselves to consider what the WIFM is for your internal employees. Things are changing. The type of way that we work right now is changing. We have a lot of people on furlough. We have people that are on hold. We have people that are working remotely some days and in the office the others. So know what your job attributes are for your employment in general. What are your culture statements? What's your employer proposition? Because your culture shouldn't change because of your physical location. And I think that's something to really consider when you're looking at your staff right now, saying, are these the people that I want to be working with a year from now, 2 years from now? And if the answer is yes to that, you need to know what's in it for them to stay with you. So what positions do you have right now? And what positions do you see that maybe you'll need to have moving into even a partial virtual world with your employees? What potential for impact do you have virtually or in the office? And what does that look like for success for your team? And I think that sometimes oversharing this information with the people who are on your team right now is a good thing. tell them why it's important for you to be on this team and know the things that make the culture what it is. So if you want to go to the next slide. The last part of that is getting testimonials. So this is a little secret that I don't share very often, but one of the reasons I get employee testimonials is because it reminds people why they love their job. And right now, some of your people need to be reminded why they love their job. Because if we're asking them to take pay cuts, if we're asking them to be furloughed or semi-furloughed, or if we're in a situation where somebody's working virtually and they're an extrovert, that's hard for them. So if you can help them remember why it's a great place to work and then use that information to find more great people to work for your organization, I think it's helpful on both sides. And then remembering those attributes that helped you love your job and write those down, because I'll tell you, I've done that in the last couple of weeks, and it gives me so much energy in this chaos to remember why I do what I do 15 years later. So I always just think that's a great thing to kind of consider when you're at home. Just take a few minutes at the beginning of your day and ask yourself that. All right, next slide. So being that we are kind of focusing that shift on our people right now, you also can't afford to slow your hiring processes. And when I say that, I mean it in a different way of I'm not saying you have to hire right now because the market is the way it is, but I do want to really show you what it looks like for your people if you slow your hiring. So we are not currently hiring, but we are pipelining for the right people. So the minute that I'm ready to hire, I have candidates ready, because I know that the cost of vacancy is at least about $500 a day on that open position. So a productivity multiplier, that means, so Harvard did a study a while back that showed what the actual productivity is of each of your employees. And they showed that really the productivity of each of your employees is 3 times their salary. That's huge. So if you have a highly productive team and it takes you an average of 30 days to fill a job, you're looking at almost $19,000 that vacancy is costing you. So if you have positions that you could say, hey, I had to let someone go because of COVID-19, or I had to put a position on hold because of COVID-19, and we put positions on hold because of COVID-19, you should still be pipelining for those jobs. So the minute that you are ready to make that hire, you have the signs that it's time to get to that point. Have somebody ready to be in that seat, whether it's virtually or it is in an office. All right, I'm ready for the next slide. So speaking of productivity, I have very highly productive teams. And one thing that we did pretty quickly is we came up with a standard to stay connected to make sure that our morale and our productivity did not go down. So we do strength finders at AppleOne, and 2 of my biggest strengths are arranger and achiever. And so for me, it was very evident that those strengths came full force when it went into a virtual situation. And I think that what was great is I was able to take the available technology that our IT departments gave us and create a very systematic habit for my people immediately. So we use Microsoft Teams. It is part of the Office 365 regimen. So if you guys have Office 365, you have access to Microsoft Teams. It is a very collaborative environment to live in for productivity. So for us, we took that to the next level, and we have what we call game day meetings 3 times a day per office. So I have 5 offices in South Carolina. We have one very large meeting in the morning where we're all on there together. And it's a fun meeting. So we do silly things on that meeting. Jessica, who's going to speak a little bit later, she has a couple of alter egos that come to that meeting, which is really fun. And it's a great way to keep morale up in our offices. She's going to talk about engagement. And the reason I asked her to do that is because she is my leader who engages more than any other that I have. And she does it in such a fun way. So I encourage you guys to be a little bit silly sometimes with your teams because it keeps them going and keeps them laughing. The other great thing about Teams is there is an Insta chat available to talk in, a very quick manner with your team. So you're not texting or emailing. So there's one standardized way that you're communicating. But of course, there's the video part of it as well. And then with Microsoft Teams, you can take that and really focus a lot of your leadership to have one place where you're document sharing and you're leading your teams if you have key point indicators that are important for them. So in our business, we have key point indicators each day that each person needs to meet. And I could spend my days pulling reports all day long, but instead what I decided to do is take some channels and teams and dedicate those to the team easily checking off their key point indicators. So I have one place to look every day to see what they're doing. So it's been a really great way for both productivity and morale in our offices. All right, next slide. So I'm going to leave you with this. My number one thought in changing environments to become a virtual-based group of employees is I am being very gentle with my staff when it comes to this change. And I think it's really important for you to remember that Brene Brown said this, we're all doing the best we can with what we have. And I remember that every day and remember what I'm thankful for, because it is really hard on some people going from one environment to being at home. We all have different situations. Some of us are alone at home. Some of us are very much not alone at home. And we have families and children of all ages. And all of a sudden we're teachers and we're leaders and we're, still wives and having to cook because, not very many places are open. So it is important to be very gentle with that and be a source of gratitude to your people. Be somebody that they can come to as a confidant, because it's really hard sometimes and you need somebody to talk to. And one thing I definitely have learned throughout all of this is sometimes the simplest of procedures in an office environment when you're all there together can be extremely difficult when you're virtual, and communication can get lost easily. So outline, standardize the way that you want to communicate. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking your team, hey, if we have this conversation, can we have it in email? If we have this conversation, can we have it in chat? Because it's easier when procedures are outlined and everybody's on the same page. And one thing I'm very, very much, known for is I like to do things quickly. I am an executor. I like a quick process. So in part of being gentle, I have to remember that sometimes me being helpful isn't helpful. And if you provide too much how-to information too quickly, without spacing out that information or communication, it could be a source of contradiction, or it could be a source of fear for your employees because they're not catching on quick enough to what you are asking them to do. So spacing out information, spacing out timelines for things. It's okay to have a little bit of space right now. I was having one-on-ones yesterday with my team, and I told them, I said, I'm pretty vulnerable with them. And I said, there's some days at 2 o'clock where I just have to stop and maybe just go get on the treadmill for a few minutes and walk. And that's okay. You can space out your work differently when you're working from home. So if it doesn't kill you, it will make you stronger. And I believe that in this different world that we will be living in, we will be stronger as a community when we come out the other side of this, whatever that looks like. And I will have employees, and I hope that you have employees who are pandemic ready, is what I say. So if we're pandemic ready, then we will be ready for anything when we get back into the office. So Jessica, I think you're next. Is this your slide? All right.
It is. I'm so excited. Thank you all for having us. So something that's really important to me is just making sure that we continue to keep our culture as it has been. And I think that at the end, it will be even stronger, and keep our employees engaged. And I really do think that that can be a daunting task for a lot of employers and for a lot of employees as well. But I really think that this is something that we can't lose sight of. And so finding those common threads that weave together our narrative, I think is going to be really important. And I think at the end of all of this, being able to look back at what we've done during a pandemic, and being able to say, you know, we were able to solve these problems or these issues during this time will give us examples of how we can be even stronger. So my question to you is, what is your narrative for your team? All right, next slide, please. As Erin had mentioned before, one of the things that we've implemented a platform, because at the beginning when we went remote, there were a few that we were using. And so we collaborated and decided that Teams was the best one. But what we do is on a weekly basis, we have that regional morning meeting every day that Erin was discussing. And it's really a great way to get people pumped up, keep them motivated. And, you know, we've even heard that there are associates who in the past, you know, maybe weren't 100% sure of some of our daily objectives, who maybe weren't part of that regional meeting, and now they are, and so things are even clearer for them. And so just really having a come as you are mentality, I think, is really important. But there are things that we do every day and weekly. Those regional meetings are every person is given the opportunity to lead those meetings. On Mondays, we do a motivational Monday. On Tuesdays, we try to celebrate Taco Tuesdays, and we have something called Hey Taco that I might discuss in a little bit as well. Wednesday, my favorite is Wacky Wednesday. So it really started as, you know, Erin giving each of us the opportunity to lead the meeting and me being given Wacky Wednesday. And so the first time I came as myself, and then I turned into the Hulk. And so it was really a neat opportunity. Thankfully, I had Hulk hands and actually had a Hulk mask for one of my little ones. And so it was just a great way to have some camaraderie and teamwork and collaboration that maybe we wouldn't have normally had, you know, on a Wacky Wednesday. I thought I was supposed to have the next Wacky Wednesday. Someone else was going to do it. And I came as a completely different character. His name was Jesse Montana. So I had the wig, the hat, the mustache, everything, the leather jacket from like 1988. And it was just really cool because no one expected that. And it was just a great way to have some laughs in the morning and to start out the day in a funny and collaborative way. So those were a few things that we did. And then on Fridays, we do Fun Fact Friday. So that's been really neat because each person on the team has been able to participate and to be able to give those fun facts. So just doing things in a team environment and having those chat rooms is really important. So Microsoft Teams does have the ability to chat, so we can stay connected all day long. So when you're not sure if you should text someone or call them or chat them, there's just a really good way to always know how to reach out to someone. Next slide, please. All right. So one of the things that I think will come from working remotely is just the advantage of being able to hire people remotely. We've already seen instances where we've had clients that have been looking for someone to work remote. They've interviewed virtually, they've hired virtually, and that person is working virtually as well. So I think that not having geographic limitations on who we're hiring will increase the talent pool even more than it was before, and really give employers a competitive edge on being able to hire the right talent. Next slide. All right, so Erin had alluded to some of the wonderful tools that we had before. There is one of my favorite tools called the Scale, and the Scale is all about employee retention, hiring and engagement. And I think one of the really important tools is the employee recognition plan. So just to go over a few of the steps and what they encompass. So step one, and this is something I think that you can already start to fill in and start to collaborate with your teams on before you even get back to the office. Step one is going through and looking at each of your employees, writing down the basic things about their work anniversary, their birthday. Do they like to make a big deal about it or not? What are their interests and priorities? And then what are some ideas that you can give for recognition? Step two is aligning that your company's department priorities with the team's priorities and making sure that you create this in a very effective way for employee engagement. So if you look under the recognition type, there are 4 different types of recognition: cultural, exceptional performance, career, and then team and company. And then by filling out the lines to the right of that, you can talk about the priorities that are worth recognizing. So what are the cultural priorities on a daily basis that are worth recognizing? What are the cultural priorities on a weekly basis that are worth recognizing? What is the exceptional performance monthly and quarterly that's worth recognizing? And then career and team. And then really, what is the personalized form of recognition for that particular individual? Because it may be very different for each person. What is the timing? What is the frequency? And then how is it delivered? Is it something that is going to be an informal, or is it going to be more of a formal recognition? And then to make sure that we stay on top of it, how do we automate that? Is it something that can be automated electronically, or something that can be automated more manually? So just making sure that you stay on top of it and the ball doesn't get dropped. And then the 7 must-haves that we want to ensure. Does it reinforce the priorities? Is it timely? Is it specific? Is it sincere and genuine? Is it proportional? So if someone meets a daily cultural goal, are we giving them a high five? Or weekly, are we giving them, we're writing them a handwritten note? That is making sure that the recognition is proportional to the priority. A career milestone is going to be very different than maybe a daily goal. Is it visible? Does that person want it to be visible? And then is it personalized? All right, next slide. So best practices. So something that we do in the office already that we're doing virtually now is making sure that we recognize people. So making sure that the team is recognized for any birthdays or anniversaries, making sure that we're doing that virtually. We do something on a weekly basis. It's called Hey Taco. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it before, but one of our teammates was looking on ways to encourage collaboration and just being able to give encouragement. And so she found something where in our team chat between our offices, we could give like a kudos, or we can give like a celebration to someone for a job well done. And at the end of the week, Erin tallies up all of the tacos that you receive. You have a certain amount that you can receive, and a certain amount you don't have a certain amount you can earn, but that you can give and receive. And whoever wins, she buys them lunch or gives them a gift card. So it's really nice to be able to collaborate on the encouragement piece as well. All right, next. And then some things that we've been able to do remotely and that we've even done before are using virtual polls, doing Jeopardy games. We had used Jeopardy a while back, and it was huge in our office. So it was very competitive. There was just a lot of teamwork when it came to answering the questions. And then, there was at the very end of it, just honestly a small prize that was given, like a $5 gift card, but it meant a lot. And I think that in an environment where people wanted to win and wanted to be competitive, it was really substantial. But doing like virtual games, doing Words with Friends virtually, virtual charades, or different virtual contests. We had a contest yesterday within our branch, and I loved the results that we were able to achieve, but I loved the fact that everyone wanted to be in it together. And then there's some easy links at the bottom for Jeopardy Labs and then online quiz creation. So I really do think that at the end of this, we can definitely become stronger, and we can definitely grow as a team. And I'm looking forward to seeing, the positives that could come out of, maybe an unfortunate circumstance that we're in right now. But I really appreciate your time, and thank you for allowing us to speak with you. We do have that scale tool, and as you can see, it's up here online, and we'd love to speak with you and go through that with you at any point.
Okay, I had to unmute. So you guys, or you ladies, that was fantastic. Lots of really good resources in there. And just so everyone on the call knows, our process with these is we will upload this recording to our website. We try to get it done by later today. So you can go back, and if you're on the call, you can reference those links. But we have just a few minutes if there are any questions from the group. I did get one comment from Aisha. Hey Aisha, it's good to see you. Pandemic ready equals ready for anything. That's great. So I have a feeling I'm going to hear that in some of your work. Aisha works with the city. So good to see you. Any other questions before we let Erin and Jessica go? My internet only went out once, so I'm just, if y'all lost me, I apologize.
Well, and we're here if anybody needs help with setup. Microsoft Teams is a lot. So, call me if you need me. As a friend and as a community member, I will assist with however I can with helping companies be as productive as possible.
That's fantastic. I took to heart having a little fun since we're in the middle of a move. I think fun is definitely on task for our team here at the Chamber because we're a little bit tight today, but that's okay. It's all good stuff. So I'm going to share just a little tip and then we'll wrap this up. I give credit to Ron Harvey because I learned this from Ron Harvey, but if you're, as I said, we'll have this up on our website a little bit later, but if you're in your chat now, if you go to those three little dots over to where you would type a name, you can save the chat right now and have it on your computer. So if there are any sources or references in that on any call, it'll be right to the right of where you type a message. Just hold that down, it'll save the chat and you'll have it on your computer. So if you're doing that on future calls and you want the info, you can get it right away. So let's call it a day. Thanks again. This was super. I can't wait to look for Jeopardy. That looks like a lot of fun. And we'll have this up on our website. Y'all bear with us after today at 5 because phones transfer, everything transfer. The keys to the old building don't work anymore. So bear with us for the next little bit until we can make sure we're up and going. And meanwhile, stay safe.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.